My husband knows how to make a real change. From the day that I met him, he has only wanted to make this country the best it can be. For many years, I watched him grow concerned and frustrated, and I'm so proud to see the many things he has done in such a short time. America is in his heart. So while at times we only see the worst of people and politics on the evening news, let's remember how we come together in the most difficult times.
My dad, who only had a sixth-grade education, told me, "Don't lose this place. You'll never be as long as me." I choose President Trump because I choose America.
And I'm part of a large and growing segment of the black community who are independent thinkers, and we believe that Donald Trump is the president that America needs to lead us forward. This is no time for sleeping in the basement. When President Trump took office, he changed everything. He delivered historic funding to HBCUs, and he guaranteed it for 10 years. He's also supported school choice. The president also built the most inclusive economy ever, with record low unemployment for African Americans. He put opportunity zones in the Trump tax bill that would drive investment into our communities for decades to come. He delivered historic criminal justice reform on issue after issue. And in just a single term, he destroyed these negative forces that have victimized the black community for decades.
I was planning a medical mission trip to Guatemala to perform charity eye surgeries, and we needed money to fund the trip. Donald Trump offered to help and immediately came through for us. Not only did he support my medical mission to Guatemala, but he also contributed to another mission trip to Haiti a year later. We performed hundreds of cataract surgeries in both countries. Nothing is more amazing than removing the bandages from a person's eyes and watching them as they see their loved ones again. Donald Trump helped me make that happen.
I've known Donald Trump for 37 years. And I don't mean just casual ran into him from time to time. I'm talking about a deep personal friendship. He taught me that the family should be your top priority. I watched him treat janitors, security guards, and waiters the same way he would treat a VIP. One time, I planned to take his kids to Disney World with my family. At the last minute, Donald said he'd like to join us. So there he was, in a business suit, on It's a Small World ride. That was something to see. It just shows you what a caring, loving father he is. It hurt my soul to hear the terrible names that people call Donald. The worst one is racist. I take it as a personal insult that people would think I've had a 37-year friendship with a racist. People who think that don't know what they're talking about. I pray every night that God gives him more time. Give him 4 more years.
Almost 250 years ago, brave patriots fought in the battles of Saratoga to turn the tide of the Revolutionary War. We face a critical choice. Joe Biden's far-left failed policies of the past 47 years, or President Trump, who will stand up for the American people and the Constitution. I believe in the wisdom and spirit of the American people to elect the only candidate who is capable of protecting the American dream, President Donald J. Trump.
In 4 years, Donald Trump didn't start any new wars. He brought troops home. He rebuilt the military and signed peace deals that make Americans safer. I wish every American could see how President Trump negotiates on their behalf. I've watched President Trump charm the Chancellor of Germany while insisting that Germany pay its NATO obligations. I was proud to witness President Trump say to foreign leaders, "I don't blame you for wanting America to pay for your security. I actually respect you for out-negotiating the presidents before me. But it stops with me."
I'm Myron Leiser, the Vice President of the Navajo Nation. We, for years, fought congressional battles with past congressmen and senators that were part of a broken system that ignored us. That is, until President Trump took office. President Trump delivered the largest financial funding package ever to Indian country. The president also provided $273 million to improve public safety and support victims of crime in the Native American community. The president has reactivated the White House Council on Native American Affairs to promote economic development and rural prosperity in Indian country. I'm excited to endorse President Trump's re-election.
Our president, Donald J. Trump, believes in the people. He is one of us. He makes promises and he keeps them. He is transparent, and we certainly know what he's thinking. He does not submit to political correctness or to its enforcers, the media. He is real.
Be a radical for freedom. Be a radical for liberty. And be a radical for our republic, for which I stand. One nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
President Trump built the most inclusive economy ever. 7 million jobs created. We put hard-earned tax dollars back in people's pockets by cutting their taxes, especially for single-parent households like the one I grew up in. There are millions of families just like mine all across this nation, full of potential, seeking to live the American dream. And I'm here tonight to tell you that supporting the Republican ticket gives you the best chance of making that dream a reality.
In critical times in our history, America has always been blessed with the right person to handle the crisis. President Trump, with his boundless love of our country and all our people, his disciplined work ethic, his exceptional ability to inspire, and his deep understanding of our system of government and the strength of American values is the man we can trust to preserve and even improve our way of life. Mr. President, make our nation safe again.
Many of the issues my father has championed are not historically Republican priorities. Yet where Washington chooses sides, our president chooses common sense. Where politicians choose party, our president chooses people. In President Trump's first term, we secured the largest ever increase for childcare funding, giving more than 800,000 low-income families great childcare at a cost they can afford. As part of Republican tax cuts, in 2019 alone, our child tax credit put over $2,000 into the pockets of 40 million American families. In his first year in office, he signed into law the first ever national paid leave tax credit. Today, 8 million more Americans have access to this benefit. He took dramatic action to cut the cost of prescription drugs, despite fielding angry calls from the CEOs of nearly every major pharmaceutical company. Now, when we see attack ads paid for by Big Pharma, my dad smiles and says to me, "You know, we're doing something really right if they're hitting us so hard." I've worked alongside the president as he signed into law 9 pieces of legislation to combat the evil of human trafficking. Defying all expectations, just weeks ago, he rewrote history again by making a peace agreement in the Middle East, the biggest breakthrough in a quarter century. Washington has not changed Donald Trump. Donald Trump has changed Washington. Now more than ever, America needs 4 more years of a warrior in the White House.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the friggin' Friday Night Show with me, Craig Mason, and Brad, a.k.a. Claudio Arquette, a.k.a. the Where We Go When We Go channel. Brad, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Great. It's great to be back. Hello, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces. It's always a pleasure to see you all. If you are new here, the deal is we talk about what's going on in the wild ride of 2020, the missions forward of us being the news now, the back channel. The 17th letter of the alphabet, Q. We're going to talk about what we just saw there. Inspiring stuff, I thought anyway. So did many Americans who called him the C-SPAN. We'll talk about that until about 9:35. Link to super chats in the description if you want to share your thoughts. We'll read those at 9:35 to 9:45. And then, if you disagree with anything, anytime, get in the Discord, give a different take. In the Discord, we'll take the last 10 minutes, a call or two. And I think that covers it. Oh, the Discord link over here, it's not going to work because it's cap sensitive and we didn't realize that. But there's a link in the description and reasonable.tv/places. Okay, there we go. How you doing, Brad?
What's a couple of capitalized letters among friends? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to turn this. Sorry, I have to. Okay, there we go. I was using my new production skills on the music. There we go. Now I should be able to hear you. Okay, how you doing, man?
Awesome. I'm doing good, man. I am pretty pumped after the RNC. I was pretty pumped already, but man, dude, what a contrast between that from the DNC. It's so dark and everything's the end of the world to like people actually talking about things and like actual thing. I mean, he's amassed so many things you could talk about by now. So it's easy for them to write half their speeches, but what a compare contrast. I just thought that was amazing.
Oh yeah. From everything to the substantialness of what they were saying to the production value, the Trump 2020 fireworks, all of the beautiful production of the entire thing. It was totally night and day, dark and light. And I don't know about you, but I'm so much more excited about this whole Trump presidency and another 4 years of it than I was before it. It red-pilled me to stuff. And I've been watching this closely.
Yeah, there were a couple things, especially with the Navajo Indians and the stuff he did there. I hadn't heard a lot of that. And there are just a few things Ivanka was talking about. Oh, by the way, how great was her speech? She might be a first woman president one day. I think she seemed very primed for at least something,
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you caught any of the rally that was on tonight just before this, like the last hour or two before this. Trump was on at a rally in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
a
was
little bit towards the end, I caught.
Yeah, he was teeing her up to be the president. I mean, he didn't say it like outright, Ivanka will run, but he kind of hinted at the fact, it seemed to me. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but she was looking very presidential up there. And I think she very well could be good for the job. First woman president. That'd be a pretty good contrast to Hillary. He was also talking smack about Hillary at this rally, too. So, I mean, she's night and day there again.
That's great. I'm going to have to watch some of the beginning. I just caught the end. I didn't hear him teeing her up. But you notice she spoke like right before him with the crowd, everything. And then she just seemed like, and, she's had a hand. Her and Jared as well have had a hand in a lot of different things. Like I think this peace deal with the United Arab Emirates and stuff. Jared was working on that a lot. He was, I think he was a big proponent in the First Step Act and stuff. And, and obviously that's a lot of Ivanka too. She's always talking about the human trafficking and stuff. So she's been doing a lot of good behind the scenes anyway. So it wouldn't be out of left field for her to step in. She's obviously gotten a really good run of things and has done a lot of good things, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting to consider what's going to happen after Trump because there hasn't been anybody like him. And I mean, Ivanka seems trustworthy, but I'm sure Donald Trump is like once in generations. I mean, we've had basically nobody like him ever. And so before he gets out, we have to make sure, Q has said, Trump has said, we have to make sure this never happens again. And I don't know what that looks like. And maybe it's totally speculating to suggest it, but the government has too much power. We have to walk it back and we have to create some systems that create a vigilant public, because I think that's what we lost. A lot of it is the vigilant public, because we have the systems there. We have the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, but still, we don't really because people don't enforce them. And I don't know how we're going to have a vigilant, educated public for generations to come.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is the start. So many people are paying attention that never paid attention before.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I used to pay attention. There's so many things that I realized that I had no clue about. And I think a big start of it is going to be, I think that's going to translate into people getting into government. I mean, the spirit of the representatives is to be like representing your actual every neighborhood, every couple of neighborhoods sends someone to represent them in Congress. And that's not the way it works anymore. They literally look for openings and they send someone to go live there and they prop them up. And, and it's just like all just corporate paid for people, or like, like even if you look at like Nancy Pelosi, the first time I realized it was like she was represented this place for a little while and then she represented a different district for a while. And it's like they move them around and they don't seem like they're really anyone really representing people. It just looks like slots being filled by the CFR and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like kids moving districts so they can get on the better little league team or the better high school team. It's not about your local representation anymore. And one thing I noticed is actually this reminds me of that they had a lot of people talking about is school choice. And I think when they open up, Trump, and part of Trump's 2021 agenda is I'm going to do school choice. That pretty, there's a lot of bullet points on that agenda, but it's pretty succinct overall. And one of the big ones, or one of the ones that stuck out to me, was allow people to have school choice. And imagine the pressure that's going to put on the garbage public schools to get their act together. Or, I mean, imagine what the private sector or homeschooling or whatever gets, because the money they get is ridiculous. And imagine how much good that money could do in a more free market. I'm not like an anarcho-capitalist, let them do whatever and who cares. But imagine where that money could go that actually could be put to good use and could create the next generation of people that are red-pilled and will continue the systems that will keep people red-pilled.
Well, I definitely think that's the key, man. I think definitely it's weird because I feel like a little torn sometimes on school because obviously there's a lot of indoctrinating things being shoehorned in. I don't think as much when we were going to school, but it seems like with these kids, it's kind of like through the textbooks being manipulated. But in general, that's the way to go, man. That is the sure way to lift yourself out of poverty. I grew up in a school that was mixed. Half the neighborhood were like middle class to upper middle class. I lived on the working class side. And it was whatever you made of it. It was public school, we got in, I went in, slept every day, and I got a 70 and passed. But there were people who did good, but you can do good. I mean, it's a little harder if you're poor and white. There's no like real scholarships or anything specifically, there's regular scholarships for everyone, but there's no extra anything. But man, for somebody to be, especially if you're a minority, you got right now, all you have to do is get rid of the, people saying, oh, what are you, a nerd? What are you acting white? If you're doing good in class, screw that, man. Punch that dude in the face and then pass your math class and then, laugh at him when you're doing something. It's there. People are dying to hand out these scholarships. If there's ever a reason to learn how to fight, I think that would be it. Because once you change that around, that'll really change things. I think that'll really just, the school, man, you're right there. They got it. You could do it, and I think a lot of people don't think there's a way out but that is one, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah. No doubt that can be a way out. And I think that culture, I think that's part of the Great Awakening, is people are seeing that it doesn't matter what people in your cultural surroundings think. I mean, or at least to a way, way less degree than they've tricked us into thinking it does. Because if you consider how it used to be, it was very dangerous to go against whatever the local tribal norms were. But nowadays we can think for ourselves, and we're in a country that has law and order, not mob rule. It's like, that is the mob rule they want us to fear, is the lady sitting in the cafe with everybody holding their fists up and saying, oh, you got to say it with us or you're not one of us. And, I think that's where that comes from, is this fear that we can't do as we want. We can't do what in our heart we know we want to do. And they shove it down. It's really sad they do that, but I think it's changing.
Yeah. Oh, I think if you could get ahead of that, that changes the whole game. Like I was saying, like my high school, the people who did good, a lot of them did get picked on. I was never a bully, so I'm not into that. But it was like a mentality where, if you did good, you're a nerd, you're anything. And I remember I was hanging out with this girl, Jess, and she had gone to like kind of a rich neighborhood that was next to us. This is in our 20s and stuff like that. And she had made a point, and they all go wherever, and then people say, oh, well, they're handed stuff because they're rich. Some of them, have good contacts, and it happens, sure. But she had made a comment to me one time, and I'll never forget, that the people who didn't do their work got picked on in these schools, and that there was the people who screwed off, like almost all of us did in my school. Those were the ones who got picked on. And that mentality, man, I think it could go. That really opened my eyes, and I'm not sure I would have done differently in school, and I'm happy the way things turned out. But man, there's something to be said for that. I think if you could turn around that mentality, it could really go a long way.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, this whole Great Awakening is just entirely in the mind. It's like we don't realize this massive cage that we're in. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting is, and I don't know if that specific speaker was in there, but there was a guy who said, if you think the Republican Party is the party of racism, you don't know your history. And I find it interesting to notice, because the fact of the matter is, people in different cultures, they have opinions that kind of often, not always, not all, but it is interesting to notice how people in groups think. And if you follow the poll numbers, you see that Black American support for Trump keeps going up. And it's like the cat's kind of out of the bag. Public awakening is the greatest fear. And if you look at the numbers simply, if the Black Americans wake up, it's like the end of the D party. And I think they are. And there's so many more. It's like, I was thinking about, Diamond and Silk.
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I was thinking about them because I saw them recently on some appearance, and I thought, wow, they were really pioneers, because in 2016 they were coming out, and there wasn't a lot of Black voices going, look, you don't have to be like all these, you don't have to do what all these Democrats say. It's all based on lies. It's all totally to keep us mentally enslaved. And now there's so many more. There's like the Hodge twins, who are another conservative twins, and there's Candace Owens. Candace Owens was around then, but there's just so many more voices, and then alternative voices that are just not like, they always say, oh, you effing straight white men. It's like, it's not just straight white men anymore. It's just people who are trying to see what the hell's going on. And they can't stop that. It's like, they just can't stop it. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a point of that. It's cool to see, I guess.
Well, that's what I like about, that's one of the things I like about conservatism, and a lot of these groups and a lot of people I met, people on our side, for the most part, we bond over policy and things that we like and things about furthering the community. Where the Democrats just like, what shade of skin are you? And it's, I was lucky enough to grow up in an area world where there's everyone. I have hung out and talked with everyone of every creed, color, even people the same color. A dude from out Long Island is different from a dude from Pennsylvania, is different from a dude from upstate, or a dude from Jersey Shore like me, and it's just, I've hung out with so many different people. And the one thing I've come to life is, there's good people and there's bad people, man. This doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it's good to have pride in it. Sure, I love having pride, and I'm very proud of, my ancestors and stuff like that. But when it comes to like, there's two races of people on this earth, good people and bad people. And I've seen good people and bad people of all shades. And I think that is the prevailing thought over here. It's like, dude, if you're a good person, come on, hang out. Who cares what the frig you look like? And they're so obsessed, and they're so anti-white. How could you be a white dude and vote Democrat? Even if you thought, like, even if I agreed with all their policies, I would never vote Democrat a day in my life ever. They're racist. And it's weird too. It's weird. I think a lot of people gear a lot of their talks towards the Black community because they really are they can really swing the vote. You have like swing states, but the Democrats and if everyone have grouped everyone into such groups, that's, you almost have to gear your talking points to certain groups just to play in their game, just to play by their rules. And it's weird because you go to say stuff and they're like, no one wants to hear it. if you're white. It's like, oh, well, I guess Sicilians and Irish never suffered or anything, but that's besides
Too
the
much
point.
nuance.
Right, yeah. And there's so many different types of white people who come from different, from adversity or escaping things, but whatever. But man, they should know that if you are going to just look at race and you're going to look at history, the Republicans, I mean, Abraham Lincoln was Republican. They're the ones who fought for everything. They're the ones who give them citizenship. They're the ones who made them full Americans. They're the ones who gave them the right to vote. They're the ones who fought the KKK. Martin Luther King Jr. was a conservative. They're the ones. It was all finally, all of a sudden, with LBJ, all of a sudden Kennedy dies and Martin Luther King Jr. dies, and Malcolm X and all these people, they all seem to die. And all of a sudden the Democrats just took over the movement, which now in hindsight has been a trap. It wound up being a honeypot because the numbers are staggering. Talk about like single parent households and stuff. It was like it's something like dropped like 40% or something over the last 60 years. Something insane. And they've pushed the abortion numbers up. Margaret Sanger was a Democrat. She wanted to exterminate the black race with it. I mean, that's like creepy, man. That gives me like anxiety when I read stuff like that, but it's in writing. And there's certain things like the Democrat run cities are running to the ground. I mean, New York was one of the exceptions for the longest time, even though we always voted Democrat. But in the 90s, we had the grace of Rudy Giuliani, who took this city where it was like between however many and Dinkins and stuff, knocked it into the ground and took it back and showed what you could do with a real person in charge and what conservative and right-wing policies can really do for a place. And he really brought it out of the depths. I think a certain day in September, part of that I think might have been a little revenge against what he did. Just my own personal theory.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, man. I think people need to learn the history of these parties and to see just what liars the Democrats are. And they're always race baiting, and they have their whole entire history is trying to destroy some group of people because of the color of their skin. And if they let it go on right now, everyone, some people on the left, some people who aren't white are eating it up because they don't like white people. But guess what, man? If they ever want to flip the script, they'll flip it so hard on you because all the stats are in our favor. So if they can make the lower stats look so bad, what could they do to the higher stats? All right. And who's next? Even if they don't flip it on them, who's next? Asians, Hispanics, who knows? This is their only policy, is to create havoc amongst the races.
Yeah, it really is. And talking about the history of the Republican Party and the history of the Democrat Party, it's like, at their core of the Republican Party, people can say, oh, it's two sides of the same coin. And that was true for a long time. They would never talk about the thing. They were both for endless wars, never talked about the monetary policy, never talked about the trade deals. But at its core, if you had the values of conservatism, i.e. small government, i.e. upholding the First and Second Amendments in the Bill of Rights, you kind of drifted towards the Republican Party. And that core, right, it's reared its head from time to time, from abolishing slavery to civil rights, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we're all getting back to our roots, the roots of our party. And it's the history. It's like, it's there. It's all there. And it's so obvious. And I remember I saw some meme, I don't know, a while ago, many years ago, when I was still in the local politics. And I talked to this local Democrat. And I haven't talked to her in years, but I bet she'll vote Trump because she was like a reasonable Democrat after this is all over. And I was like, did you know all this about the Democrat Party? And she's like, oh, but that's because they all switched. This lie that they all switched. I thought, that's switched. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they switched their scam. That's right. They switched from hating black people to hating white people.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Right. And so I had no idea until Dinesh D'Souza wrote The Big Lie, and I heard him talking about it. I haven't actually read it, but he talks about how it's just a lie. These people will just lie to you blatantly, and you couldn't find any evidence of it. And that's a huge red pill to me, is that these people always are lying. They're just constantly lying, endlessly.
Constantly lying, and they know no one will check it out. I think I was just reading somewhere the other day that I believe of the 21 Democrats who were against civil rights, against the Civil Rights Act of 64, I think only one of them changed their party to a Republican. So, the big switch. One out of four of there. 500 people in Congress, 580 people or something. So, that was the big switch. And switched what? Like, the Democrats have always been the party of bigger government. I mean, you have Woodrow Wilson's top advisor, Edward Mandel House, started the CFR, right? Woodrow Wilson himself, Democrat, he's the one who signed the Federal Reserve Act. So therefore, the money in the big banks and stuff, that he's the one who started payroll tax, I think with the 16th Amendment. I mean, the parties have been the same. Once for smaller government, less taxes. Once for in the very bare minimum. And I think people, I think the Bushes and all these people are all controlled. So I don't think people have really gotten to see the real Republican side for a while. They say nice things, but their policies, kind of in hindsight, are along the lines of this radical left ideology. So,
oh yeah, big time. It's very much it's been an America last policy. I think Reagan tried to change it, but then they gave him a shot across the bow and realized that was no good. But really, the Republican Party values that you're talking about, it's like those are American values. And you mentioned being proud of your ancestry, and we talked about last week the Irish funerals where people would leave Ireland and come here. Your story from the ancestors of yours, and it takes. And this whole convention really got me thinking. Like, the biggest thing I was red pilled from this convention. It's like I haven't had such a red pill moment in a while, and it was like, wow, America is this place where all these people did things like left their ancestors forever and came across on probably a rickety ass boat to live in, or certainly the settlers did. And that takes a very certain kind of person. It's probably the kind of person who is involved in this movement now, who's seeing all the BS around them and saying, forget this, I'm finding a better way. And those people all came from all over the world, and they started America. So it's like you have a group of people who are standing up for themselves in like the very, probably the three standard deviations, like the 0.3% of people in the world, or maybe top 3%, whatever the case is. It's a very high percentile of people that are in the disagreeable, I'm doing it, whatever you want to call it, spectrum. And that's what created America. And they founded it on these principles of you can have freedom to speak, freedom of religion, you can do what you want to do, get along, you can bear arms, shall not be infringed, and you can go about your life. And those principles are so incredibly dangerous to the deep state. It's like it stops them. And I think that's why it had to infiltrate so bad, and why they hate America so bad, because they know it's their end when people cling on to those.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why they try to push democracy, I feel. Like Aaron Russo said it best. Democracy, 51% of the people rule over the 49%. But we're a constitutional republic. Technically, the 1%, the 99% shouldn't even be allowed to take away the rights of the 1%. And we've definitely got away with that. Definitely got away from that. Things like, Bill Cooper made a great point one time on the war on drugs, and said it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on the Fourth Amendment and stuff like that. And, obviously that's a weird topic, just drugs they're bad in my opinion, my personal opinion. But, I don't think people who get sucked into them are bad. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But it's just the Democrats in general and this whole left-wing ideology is showing its true face right now, especially with the riots and stuff. And it's just a nasty way to be. And they have to be losing people like that. What a nice fourth night of the RNC convention. And, some people are just going to remember all these horrible things that happened. We're like with Rand Paul, and they're out in the streets being like, say her name about Breonna Taylor. And, I'm sure we could all agree that was horrible what happened to her. Rand Paul back in June is the one who introduced the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act to prohibit no-knock warrants. So, like, yeah, he knows her name to you, so it seems kind of fake, to be honest. So are these really people out there, or are these paid? I've often been thinking lately, how do you go to war with America, right? So if a country or countries wanted to go to war with America, I don't care who you are, dude. I mean, this is not a whatchamacallit. This is not inviting anything like this. I would never like to find out if what I'm about to say is right. But if they came here, they'd be destroyed. We have such an insane military. You can invade America. So how would you ever do it? Maybe like this. I mean, they're smashing every city to the ground. No one cares. I mean, the George Floyd tape, everyone. I mean, I watched that, friggin' in horror. Everyone universally was like, yo, dude, get your knee off this guy's neck. This is horrible. No one needed a lesson on that. Everyone thought that was horrible. That guy, was ready to get tossed to the wolves, but they did it anyway. And then stuff with all these things, even things come out now. Things just came out with this other guy that he was actually fighting with the cops and he had a knife and all this stuff, but they still were rioting anyway, even after that came out. And all these things, it's like, well, any reasonable person would be like, oh, damn, they got me. Oh, they got me mad at something, and they tricked me, but people aren't doing that. So are these actually Americans, or are these people shipped over from overseas to create chaos? Is this fourth gen warfare? Is something I was thinking,
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that something else is going on beyond these just being your average college kid or not college kid that is just radicalized by leftism. In any case, it seems like there's a greater force at work here. You can take that to mean spiritually or actually, but they are, even Rand Paul said in his statement, he was on the news today, and he's like, who are the people that are organizing these? And it's like Kennedy said, and like you said as well, infiltration, not invasion. They infiltrate and they make it look like, oh, it's Americans. These are Americans. This is the American spirit, with the right to protest, mostly peaceful protest. And the fake news is just getting, it's out of control with how ridiculous it is, which I think is great. I think it's great. And also, that's another thing from the Trump speeches or all the Republican speeches I noticed is people were excoriating the fake news as fake.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And like you said, so I guess it is good in a way. You're right. Because like it's got to be waking up. Even the stuff they're saying about, like 17 or whatever, it's so easily debunkable. Like violent, show me a violent post. Show me one. I just did a whole thing. I was going through. They're all about like unity and love, and patriots don't look at skin color and all this like nice stuff. With information as well too. Obviously, they're not just all things like that, but certainly not violent. They're calling for an end to the violence. So the fact that they're all writing all these hit pieces, they're kind of they're showing everyone who's fake is showing who they're fake right now, who is fake right now, and two, it's like. Good. I would love to like wake someone up and show. It's what a great way to show everyone how fake the news is.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
But
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, why would you even pick that fight? So weird. They're so desperate to go against it.
It's a lose-lose. They have nothing they can do. I mean, they only have one trick, which is lying to you in order to change the narrative to get you to vote for Democrats. Or vote for whatever puppet they've installed. Maybe it's Republican George W. Bush when the Republican Party was taken over. Now the Republican Party's back. But it's all just, they have nothing else they can do. And Trump tonight at that rally, he was mercilessly trolling CNN. He said, oh, CNN, the fake news, something about that. And he said, oh, I shouldn't say that. They always turn their cameras off. Oh, they're probably turning, he just went on this whole thing. And it's like he's showing, he doesn't need you to show his rallies. He has a massive back channel of the internet, of Anons, of patriots. We don't need the fake news. Their rating is dying. I don't know what the numbers were, but so many more people watched. I know in the live streams it was like 6-1 almost. I think people watching the Republicans versus the Democrats.
Yeah, I saw someone was posting about 6-1. They said the DNC the first night anyway had 21.4 million viewers, and the RNC had 128.4 million viewers. So,
wow.
That's just insane. And then I was seeing another thing. I had watched the second night of C-SPAN, and that one I had watched live. So I like watching the calls, and I like how C-SPAN will do the Republican line, Democrat line. I always love that.
Mm-hmm.
And someone counted for the first 3 nights, 49 of the 55 calls were pro-Trump.
Wow. And they were probably taking a lot. I know there was a lot of Democrats who called and said, I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I'm voting for Trump. And I think there's nothing they can do at this point because the Great Awakening is happening, and we still have 60 plus days of ammunition that I'm sure they've held. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they're obviously losing.
Yeah, I gotta admit, it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but they've already expended so many huge things, with like that certain event, Duecentouno, for anyone who speaks Italian, where it's like, so that was there's no way that was an accident, that you had an exact event a couple months before this happened. But so that's a pretty huge one. The race riots, there was an email that had been intercepted in 2018, said it was going to be the summer of chaos, and it described exactly what they're doing right now with these riots.
Wow.
So I guess maybe they put that on the back burner for until now, if that's the same people, who are going to do that. But man, I don't even want to know what else. Dude, just take the L already.
yeah. The problem is for them is that they take the L and they're like, it's not like a loss of, a business failure or you lost a game that you're really excited about, the World Series. It's like this is kind of, in a way, depending on if they get tried for certain things, life or death for them.
Yeah, true.
Which is a little scary to consider.
Very true.
All right. Well, we're getting that time's really flying at 6:41, but we have time for some calls, and we have some calls, and we have a super chat from Red Pilled PHN over on D Live with the diamond. Thank you, Red Pilled PHN. Says,
right.
Yeah, I concur. That's how I feel too. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Love
exactly. Okay, and then we got a few people in the call waiting room. Feel free to send super chats. I'll check them out at the end as well. And we have, let's see. Josh says we have 2 people in the Discord. Great. Boom. How about this? Cisco, I think you're muted. I think you're muted on your end. So if you want to unmute yourself, I will. I'll bring. Oh, she gone. Oh,
and she gone.
Okay. How about this? Cherokee Cowboy, are you there?
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, bud?
Not too bad.
You're on.
You
what's going on? Good.
I just had some thoughts about Mr. Joe Biden.
What do you think?
I got a relay. Do you guys hear the same relay?
No.
Okay.
No, you're coming through loud and clear.
Oh, maybe if you mute,
anyways.
maybe you have to mute the stream on your computer.
Oh yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, I think I got it. Anyway, Joe Biden, I think his own team and stuff are probably, in the basement, obviously, but they're running like chickens with their heads cut off, probably trying to break his mind on purpose, so he can't testify on most of them.
So, go ahead, Brad.
No, so that's a great point. Possibly, I mean, he's right there. Either it's an act or he's ready to snap. Because the guy, it's almost sad to watch.
Yeah.
If he wasn't such a jerk. But that's a good point.
Yeah, that's interesting because it seems like they would also have the incentive to get him out of there so they can put someone else in because he's a terrible candidate. I mean, there's even. I mean, so many other Democrats, there's really any good Democratic candidate, but he's got to be one of the worst. He's been in government for 47 years.
By far.
Yeah. I don't know how they got him up there in the first place, but are you saying also to get rid of him because he has too much dirt on people and he can't testify against them? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Especially the Obama administration in particular.
Yeah. But there's what do you think about this? There's so many people who have, it's like they all are so dirty. Getting rid of Joe Biden is just one more person.
Yeah. He must have a lot. Yeah. And there's no honor amongst thieves. So if he's really going to go down, they're all, any of them that are really, really in danger, they're liable to give up the goat. But I don't know. They seem pretty banded together, and unfortunately, it seems like they have so many people in the FBI and DOJ still that they're kind of like untouchable in a weird way. Some of the really top ones, right? I mean, seems wild.
I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Cherokee Cowboy. He does seem like he is right on the edge, whether it's an act or not. It seems like a really good act because he seems like he's trying his best and struggling really hard.
Yeah, it looks real to me. The dementia definitely looks like it's setting in.
Yeah. It is, Brad, like you said, it's almost sad, but he is a dirtbag. So it is what it is in that regard.
Just straight up dirtbag. Or as Space Shot says, dirtball.
That qualifies as well.
I like that one. Yeah.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Cherokee Cowboy. Talk to you
I
again soon.
appreciate it. I like you guys' new show.
Thanks, man. We'll keep
Awesome.
going. Cool.
All right.
We'll see you later. Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Later.
How about Cisco? Cisco, you there?
Hello, Craig.
Oh, yeah. How you doing, Cisco?
I have been on hold for a week, my brother.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I realized it was 100% my fault afterwards. I had the Discord muted, so thank you for dealing with that.
It is quite all right. It is quite all right. If you would allow me, Caragito, Brad, whatever you're going by tonight, I have got to tell you that the videos on 9/11 and Building 7 were phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. That obviously hits home to me. Now I worked on the rebuilding of the new World Trade Center 7. I know. I'm from Jersey, man. I know. Sick.
Man, I have just been watching you since the beginning. So
That's
this
awesome.
is the thing. So this is the thing. Can you hear me still? Because I shut off I had a lot of back feed. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to say, Craig, you know I love you. And
thank you. You too. I love you too.
This is something, people are starting to lose it in the curve a little, and some are just getting regenerated. And the thing is this, we have an army of digital soldiers, and go back and read that speech. It was 2016.
General Flynn you're talking about.
Said that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. When he said that. And then Q added, and an army of frogs to destroy them. We cannot give up now. This is the home stretch. It's for all the marbles. So when I keep saying frog, frogs are comfy, we're cool, because we understand that there's a plan. And I think now we're at that point that maybe not trust the plan as much as you trust your heart. We know this is right. I'm still standing because I've been standing in the same spot for 35, 40 years. There's people my age that have been waiting for this and hoping for this and hoping we weren't the only ones. And this is why we get in the chats. This is why we watch the shows. This is why we listen, and when we share and we talk, and we lose family members and friends and jobs. I walked away from 3 jobs, walked away, slammed the door, done, because I'm not having it. This is my country. This is your country. This is our world. This is where you stand up and you fight with everything you've got left, because if you don't, we're not going to have anything left. Do not get discouraged. 3%. Both of you are going to, I can't hear you, but you're going to be shaking your heads in a minute. 3% stood up in a little bar called the Green Dragon, and they clicked their beers and they toasted. They toasted to go up against the strongest country with the best military force they had, because they were treated they were tired of the tyranny. They were tired of taxation without representation. They were tired of the taxes. They were tired of being treated like cattle. And so are we. This is our country. We finally have a warrior in the White House, and I don't care if he's orange or blue or yellow or green. This man cares about America, and he cares about you in the chat, and he cares about everybody else, because he wants to give back what this country gave to him, and that's what I believe. That's my heart. So don't lose it. You be a frog, because an army of frogs never stop. They never stop. And I don't care if you're a private or a general or a sergeant in a foxhole. I'm guarding, and I'm not letting go, and I am holding that line. And everybody listening better hold that line and hold your head up, because now we got something to be proud of, and that's all I have to say.
Amen. Amen.
Wow. I love that. You trying to get me choked up here, Cisco?
Right.
What are you doing? That was
These
great.
colors
I love
do
that you
not
mentioned the
run.
3% in the.
Yeah, that's where it started, in a little town called Boston. And now they're burning it. Can you imagine what our forefathers think? And everybody, they say forefathers, but there was a lot of women in there too. There was a lot of women in there too. And we just can't. We've got to hold the line. And this is it. This next 60 days, you think it's bad now, it's probably going to get worse, and that's okay. That's okay. Because when the smoke clears, guess who's going to be standing? The army of frogs, baby, with big smiles on her face. So we knew it all along.
100%. That's why, now's the time to ramp it up. Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That's why there's like certain people who have fallen off, or done complete 180s of recent, where it's just like, it just makes me mad. First of all, if you're going to leave, just leave. Don't burn down the house with us in it that, you were just in. And two, it's like, it's just fake. You can't have gone all this way. And then, now you're going to leave right as we're on the home stretch. That's someone those are people, in my opinion, I could be wrong about some of them, but those are people who were planted for this very reason, to try and get as many people as they can suckered in to thinking that they're on the right side, so then they'll be able to influence them away. And this is, there's a lot more than 3% right now, and this is not going away. And I have never been more personally, Craig, I know you feel the same way. I've never been more inspired to be a part of anything, and I am going to continue times 30. So.
Absolutely. There is, Cisco, I will just say that there is no way I'm giving up. No way. But that is a very important message for people to hear. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You are so welcome, and thank you for what you do. And I know it's not easy to stick your neck out there. I did it on my podcast, Craig. You helped me do it. We opened up with the first episode, and I cannot tell you how many people were like, wow, okay. And some people dropped off, and that's fine. And then some turned around and came back again and asked questions. And that's what this has been all about. This is the whole reason we've been in this for 3 years, so we could answer the questions and ask the questions and help. Yeah. And that's what this whole thing's been about. So thank you guys so much for being out there and giving us the information and keeping us going.
Oh, and, thank you,
Cisco. Before you go, can you confirm what I keep trying to tell everyone, that New Jersey is not as blue as it seems to be at the voting polls, and that I suspect a lot of voter fraud has been going on here?
I can tell you this. At the 4th of July, and of course you see a lot of flags 4th of July, but that being said, I went on a cruise along the coast, and it went up and down the coast of New Jersey, and the Trump flags that were flying, not only everywhere. On the boat I was riding on, everywhere, and not one Biden, not one of any kind, not even a bumper sticker in the parking lot on the way out. So I think that, it's absolutely going to flip red. And I don't think it's flipping red. I think it probably is. Look at the rally he had here. And
that's what I think. I think it's mad voter fraud, because the majority of my friends are just like me and you and everyone else. And, we have some friends who have, fallen off the deep end over the last 20 years, but it's just like, no, there's not enough, man. Something's wrong here. Something's wrong. This is not indicative of New Jersey, in my opinion.
100% agree. And I'll tell you what, I'm here over by Asbury Park. You meet me halfway. First beer round is on me, and we will clink them together just like they did back at the Green Dragon, and we will toast to this new revolution that was won on peace and love and trust and kindness and a whole lot of tolerance. Because, man, I'm telling you what.
Right on.
A lot of tolerance. Right on, I love you both. I will shut up, and just remember 3%.
Hey, Cisco, before you go, tell people the name of your podcast if you'd like to, or if you would.
Oh, thank you so much. It is Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast. We are kicking in, the leaves are turning, and we are getting spooky. And Craig, I have a wonderful thing. I'd like to DM you. Love to come on your show and talk about some spooky stuff and a new thing I got coming up.
Yeah, maybe around Halloween. Can we do it around Halloween for spooky time?
Absolutely, I'm there for you, man.
Great, let's do it.
I will bring the boo. I promise.
Amazing. Thanks, Cisco. Talk to you soon.
Love you all. Hi, chat. Hang in there, babies. We got this.
You too. Bye. We got it.
Bye.
Amazing. Wow. Dude, that's freaking inspiring. Is it not?
That was so inspiring.
Yeah.
It's like, she's getting me pumped. I'm already, I don't even know I could be more pumped.
I gotta get out of here and go, yell on the street that we need freedom. The Democrats are evil and trying to steal our society.
Oh man, freaking love it.
Right? Okay, we got one more, and it's a character, so I'm going to get him in here while we have a few minutes left.
Awesome.
Is this the legendary Carl Weathers?
I have returned, News Daddy.
It's great to hear you. If anybody doesn't know Carl Weathers, he frequents the comment section with some colorful, humorous anecdotes about his comings and goings.
Watch it.
Coming.
Oh, geez. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm swell. How about yourselves?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
So it looks like you started something new with your pal.
Oh yeah, New Fridays.
Fridays. How long has that been in the making? Because I've been kind of out of the loop.
You've been a busy man. Yeah, it's this is our second official week. We did a pilot a couple weeks before that, but this is officially episode number 2.
Yeah, I guess we've been talking about it for a little over a month though, right? Getting everything set and stuff. And then we, and Josh and Abe, helping out with a lot of stuff. So it's been in the works.
Well, I like it so far. I like the addition, News Daddy and the sidekick.
I'd say more co News Daddy, but yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean to discredit you over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll be whatever you want. I can be a sidekick.
Except for a Democrat.
Yeah. So I'm curious, guys. What are your thoughts on this theory basically with January 20th and the delaying of the election results and how that could possibly turn Pelosi president and how the House might end up having to decide the president if the Electoral College can't come to a conclusion. What are your guys' thoughts on that? What are your fears, if any? And I'm just curious to pick your brains.
Some of that stuff I think is I think they're just trying to scare people. I think they're constantly trying to scare people and stuff like that. I think that's their wet dreams, their fantasies that they're throwing out there. But man, I don't see that happening. I think they would put their foot down and take care of that if that were the case.
Yeah, I think it'll be too obvious BS because they tried to talk about a little of that stuff last time. I thought, are they going to even let him get inaugurated? And I think that was actually a big mistake by them, is letting it happen. They should have tried to, under some color of law, not let him get inaugurated. Because I don't know if you remember that moment, but I thought, wow, the world changed when Trump got inaugurated. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah. That's a great speech too. He says things like, I'm giving the power back to the people and stuff like that. That's a really good speech. I've watched it several times.
Yeah, what do you think, Carl?
And then, what do I think?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you guys summed it up. I try not to get, I definitely still entertain it as a possibility. And, sometimes it's kind of easy to get lost in all the darkness that we hear all the time from the media and even from YouTube channels. I mean, it's a lot of terrible stuff going on, and a lot of misinformation too. And it's a lot of people still, I feel, believe in that. Q has said, I think somebody mentioned earlier in the comments, 4 to 6%, but sometimes it definitely feels like it's got to be higher than that. Not like 20 over 25%, but it definitely feels like sometimes that it could be higher than just a 4 to 6% of people that are so brainwashed that they couldn't ever change their way. But as far as the election results, I mean, I still entertain it as a possibility. The deep state's backed into a corner, and when you do that to an animal, they can just throw everything they've got at you. Obviously, which we're seeing that. But I mean, I don't underestimate the deep state and what they can come up with. Obviously, Q says the Patriots are 10 steps ahead, but sometimes you just are having to ride on blind faith for that, which can be difficult and frustrating. But I'd like to think and hope that that's the case. But at the same time, I entertain the idea that, it's going to get pretty nasty after the election, even more so than it has been over these 4 years. And the next 4 years are probably going to be even more difficult than the last.
Well, I think they'll be able to do a little bit more to combat it after the election. I think sometimes you got to worry about, that's why they say a lame duck does the most damage. And as far as, Q and them saying how many steps ahead they are, the best laid plans of mice and men too. So, I take it all with a little grain of salt. I like their enthusiasm, but obviously they're up against an insane enemy. And with all the comments and being more than 4 to 6%, I think a lot of them have to be paid. It's just like, I think it's to swarm people. Same thing with those narratives, like saying, "Oh, well, we're not gonna let him take office January 20th." Or you see all these comments on Twitter. So a lot of them, I think, have to be like overseas people LARPing, making a lot of money, because I think it's meant to swarm you and depress you. And sometimes I just can't even read them on. It is depressing to think that many people are still that lost, but. Just look at, like, Craig was saying, with the 6-to-1 watchers of the RNC to the DNC. So I don't think it's as many people as it seems. I think a lot of them are paid.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. And
in my opinion, I don't know. I'm just saying.
And also, I think people are going to see in their real life, the people they know that have been talking about this for years, that all of a sudden it comes out that human trafficking is actually a problem and the Democrats are just talking about peaceful protesters that aren't peaceful. It's going to become pretty obvious that, and also this side is way more fun than Democrats.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, boy, they have just taken a dive down miserable lane. And like you're saying, like with the news, well, this has to be freaking people out that there's so much like, oh, child trafficking and and pedophilia and all these things. Oh, it's just a myth. It's just being a myth being pushed by 17 and stuff. And it's like everyday stuff comes out. So it's people are seeing that it's not a myth simultaneously with them saying it's a myth. I mean, just literally this week, there were 20 people arrested right here in Jersey for child porn, heinous stuff. I mean, and then in Georgia, they just found 39 missing children and arrested 9 people. So this stuff is happening all the time, and it's so great. I love the ones with the missing children the most. Just like that they actually found people and were able to save people. But just watching the news be like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy theory. Like, well, it doesn't seem like one. And half of these old news stories are their own news stories. So, I don't know. It's got to be waking people up. It has to be. It has to be.
Oh yeah, and like you were saying, Carl, they're going to be fighting for their lives in these last 60 days, but we're going to have so much information too. So it's all going to be coming out. I mean, I'm really just bracing myself because it's about to get so intense, and the Great Awakening thing is going to go into full swing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope that's going to be the case, and I look forward to a brighter future. And I'll let you guys go. I appreciate you having me on. I think I'm going to refer to you as Big Papa Pumped, and then of course the honorable and reasonable News Daddy.
Thank you, and the honorable and infamous and reasonable Carl Weathers. Thanks for calling, man.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Have a great
Keep
day.
it up.
Yeah, bye. Yeah, man, things are going to get wild, but I guess watch your 6. I mean, we can still win. It might be, Q said not everything's going to be clean, but I'm going to watch my 6, man, and stay focused.
100%, man. This is freaking information warfare. That's why it's good that we all have our ducks in a row, and we have a lot of people.
We've been trained.
Yeah. It's all there. It's all sourced. So, they can say all they want. If we got the actual footage and be like, well, that's not the case. Here are the statistics. Here's the footage. What could they say to that? They could just try and bury it, and they do try to bury it, but there's just too much. They've lied about too much at this point.
Oh yeah, big time. They're totally screwed. It's I think all we have to do is keep, as Cisco is saying, keep fighting, and I don't know how we can possibly, unless something goes horribly wrong, but I'm not going to talk about it. But I feel inspired to keep going, and that I love America. I've never loved America more in my life.
Yeah, it's the best. Back, could you not love America,
exactly,
man?
Exactly. Well, we're out of time. We're over time, but the hour flies. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you, Brad. I'm loving this show. It's an honor to do it with you.
Thanks to our mods.
Thanks to the mods. Yes, thanks to the wonderful mods. Thanks to the wonderful people that make the production happen, Abe and Josh. Yes. And we got one more PayPal here from Conrad, who says, "Thanks, Craig. You're welcome, Conrad. Thank you." Let's see if there's anything else on D Live. Pegleg Craig with 2 ice cream, and he said, "On behalf of reasonable Craigs the world over." Thank you, Pegleg Craig. I like your name.
Awesome.
In part and in whole. Well, cool, man. Am I forgetting anything else to close this out?
Not that I can think of.
No? Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for being the news now. And we'll be back next week, eh?
See you guys on Friday.
Awesome, man. Sounds great. See y'all later.
Peace.